language.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
So I just saw that I was logged out of my account. So I was trying to log back in and all that. It didn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
So I now wanted to enter with the other account, and that one too
yes.
didn't work. So I was
Wow.
now trying to do password reset and all that.
Mm.
Wow.
Okay.
I just thought I was logged out of my account.
All right. So someone was asking,
Okay.
someone was asking who was going to be the king. That's where you stopped.
Oh, like I was going to be the king.
Yes.
Like what the last night said was that the oracle chose Uriade
Mm.
as the next king.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I said. So, but Femi was not happy with it. So after I returned back into his room,
Mm.
to his own royal chamber, the wife followed him. That's Bewa. She tried
Mm-hmm.
to persuade him to let it go, but he was not willing. So in anger, he left the palace with his own soldiers. So that was what happened at the end of that chapter.
So Oriade was actually king.
He was supposed to be king. So that's where that chapter ends.
Okay.
But the next thing that happens is Femi left in search of mysterious powers with which he was going to reclaim the throne. So that was his plan. So he left, he met an old witch who gave him a magic mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
So with that magic mushroom, she can shape shift. He can shape shift rather into
Mm.
anything. So he could turn into fire, he could turn into water, he could turn into a lion, he could turn into anything. So with
Mm-hmm.
that power, he got soldiers from Oyo Empire. He told the Oyo king that he needed soldiers, that he was going to be a better king in Oshogbo. Because
Mm.
Oshogbo kingdom is under the Oyo Empire, based on
Mm.
history at the time. So he returned with his hordes of soldiers and they took over the throne. So because he
Okay.
had powers and nobody could conquer him, so Oriade, his mother, that is Bewa, and everybody had to flee the
Even his
palace.
mother,
Even
even
the mother, the
Bewa.
wife.
Wow.
Yes, yes. So everybody fled from the palace
Mm.
because it was like a reign of terror. So Femi became the ruthless king, and all that Oriade now had to do was to find a way to get the powers that Femi had and use it
Mm.
to reclaim the throne. So that was more like the conquest.
Okay. Okay. Nice. That sounds very like a thriller.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sad. Everybody has left. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I hope they join us back again. But we can
I
I
hope
will
you
record
do.
will I'm going to save the recording here on Instagram
Okay.
and on YouTube, so anybody who is
Okay.
interested can watch it. So we'll just go to
Okay.
the questions. Um
Okay. That's me.
so can you give us a brief of the books you have written? So this is going to be 7 children's books and 1 young adult.
Yes.
Okay.
And one young adult.
Okay.
So, my first book is titled First Among Equals.
Yeah.
Yes, First Among Equals. That was in 2004. So that book paved the way for me. So it was selected by the World Bank. So what they did was to buy like 3,000 copies of the book and
Mm.
distribute across libraries and schools in Nigeria at the time. So I think they picked some books too. So mine was one of it. So with
Okay.
the fund we got from that, we were able to publish my next book the same year,
Mm.
Noble Ambition. So
Okay.
after Noble Ambition, then I released novel in 2011, Tears of the Lonely. So after I won an award with that book, then some of my friends were like, okay, Ayo is not going to write children's book again. He'll be writing novel. Followed by The Kick, followed by Sugar. The interesting thing is that Sugar came out the same year Mafoya and the Finish Line came out. But people don't really know about that book. They
Oh,
always talk about Mafoya. So Sugar and Mafoya came out the same year, 2018.
yeah.
And then we have this new one coming, Legend of Ataoja.
Okay.
So that makes a total of 7 children's book and one young
One.
adult.
Okay, so that's 8 books in total.
Yes,
So why
yes.
children? Why did you choose to write for children?
I think let me say maybe there are like three factors, which is readers, or let's say people usually downplay children's literature. They assume that when you write a novel, a voluminous novels of like 300, 500 pages, that means you're brilliant or something, or that means you're working very hard. But it's not the same because I think children's literature is more like it's more like you're like a surgeon and you're trying to do a daily, just have to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
So children's fiction requires as much attention that you will give adult fiction. That is the first reason I saw there that okay, I can write and I can write these things well, and I know that if I put in more energy into it, it will draw more attention. I understand that there's always like people that often do literature in Nigeria are not people that are really vast in writing. It's like if they stumble into it. So I felt okay, I could do more in that regard. Then two is that the quality of children's literature that has been available till let's say 2017 or 2016 has not been
26.
top notch.
Yeah.
Yes, it can't really meet up with international standard. And I felt like I could also contribute. Obviously, I can't write 100 books, but I knew, okay, if I contribute, it would inspire more people to contribute, and we can always do better. So I felt that was important. Like our children should be reading the right kinds of books. Then I think the top part is they say the hand that rocks the cradle nurtures the nation. So if a writer is writing for the children, is also in his own little way shaping their minds towards how the nation can get better. So that's the whole idea.
Okay, awesome. So what inspires your ideas? Because even Mafuya, I've never read of such an, I had never even figured out something like that in my life when I read Mafuya. It was
The
out of
funny
this
thing
world.
about Mafoya is it actually looked simple to me, but I saw that the reception was a bit huge.
Yeah.
Mafoya was actually pitched for this award, Golden Baba, so I was
Yeah.
shortlisted. So I didn't win. So then Lola Shine reached out to me and she was like, "I want to see that story." So when she saw it, and she was like, "Okay, I'm going to sign you." I was like, "Oh, really?" One, it was a childhood experience from school. There was this hill we had to always climb towards home. So there's always the kind of whirlwind that was always collecting on that hill. So whenever fusing it into easy, reading, like I read other people's works, I see their angle, I see their idea, and I like, okay, I can do something better. Okay, I can take a little bit from here and take a little bit from there. Like Shinka will say that the best form of ideas will come from imitation. You want to do very well in this thing, you have to learn to imitate others, see what they've done, then do better. So I get it from imitating others, knowledge, which is from reading, then personal experiences, then generally life. You just look at life, you look at trees, you look at the wind, you look at things, and from there. Okay, did you get that? Oh, there was a break. So I just said, oh, so I was talking about the whirlwind. Okay, so I said that it was like a childhood experience. It was something that I personally experienced as a child. My brother and I always were always running away from the whirlwind. So what I was saying basically is that I pick inspirations from experiences.
Okay. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
so I pick ideas from. I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right.
Yes. So
So
I
you
picked it
suggest,
from. Yes. So the inspiration comes from things like that, from experiences, from knowledge, which is like reading. And so
Okay.
when I read other people's works, I could pick new ideas from what they've done. Then
Okay.
by observing, generally, you observe life, like, okay, a car is moving, the trees are there, they're standing, are they talking, are they thinking, So just by observing things, I can always create new ideas. So that's how it works for me.
Okay, great. So would you say that Legend of Ataoja is historical fiction plus fantasy, or what genre would you say it is?
Basically, it's a legend, which is
Yeah.
like you are building
What's up?
fiction
Yeah.
on history.
History.
So
Yeah.
the whole plot for the story is built on history. Then because there are magical elements of there's a flying horse, there's a part where we already entered into a tree, he got some magic berries and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the whole fantasy comes in. So for me, I'll call it epic fantasy because it's
Okay.
all epic. It's not like maybe something that you can always hold on to. It's epic fantasy.
Okay, great. So what age would you say it's appropriate for?
It's a chapter book, so which means it's appropriate for kids from like ages 7 to 11. Yes.
Okay.
So it's a chapter book, yes.
Okay, so let's talk more about Legend of Ataoja, the writing process. What was it like picking to? What was it like? The characters?
Okay. For the Legend of Ataoja, it started with an article I read in Encyclopedia Britannica where they talked about the Ataojas to the royal stool of Ataoja, and it was explained that Ataoja means the hand that collects fishes.
Okay.
So I was like, really? The hands that collect fishes? Like, okay, so I was like, who translated that? And why would such a person do that? So I was just, okay, they're according to Oshun, and the Oshun goddess and all that. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a fish and all that. But because I'm from that side, so I'm like, okay, no, that's not the story. So that was what started it. Like, okay, let's tell our story properly. Let's correct these people. So I said, okay, let me first do a work of fiction that addresses that. Then we can now pen push and ask for corrections and all
Yeah,
that, and eventually we get. Because I was wondering, like, why hasn't
fishes.
anybody told them? Whoever must have written that, like, what the hell is the hand that collects fishes and
Do
like
you know if it's still the
fishes
same?
really?
Do you know if they
It is
revised
still
it?
the same.
Oh, wow.
They've not revised it. It's still the same. So I'm like, okay, I have to do a work on that. So that was the beginning. So by reading into the royal line, the lineage, how the whole family started, the families that moved from the two brothers that moved from Elisha, and one of them because there was lack of water, they moved down to Shogbo because of water. That's how they moved down there. And so because Laroye, that's the first king of Oshogbo,
Oshogo.
so he was one that sort of rescued them, the people, like, okay, because you saved us, so they call him the Ataoja. He delivered his people, sort of. So and that was the beginning. So when I now read the whole story, there was a little power tussle at a point in the royal kingdom. I think it's still obtainable to till now. They still fight some of those things in court, but it's not like it's epic like the way I'm putting it in the fiction.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. The names that were applicable in history are names I know that if I bring them into children fiction, it would be too difficult.
Oh,
Work on new names that I have to create characters that are easy to adapt to, that you could connect, that you could with. So I did that. Then, okay, what else? I had lots of problem writing it. Initial title was Crown Him King. Crown Him King. I wanted that title because I felt like, okay, it's easy for everybody to connect. But at the other end, I just felt like, okay, yes, Crown Him King. So that was it. So I just felt, okay, it's too revealing. Yes, it's too revealing and it doesn't give you that kind of push, that jump.
yeah.
So, and I wanted something that connects with us, like Mafuya and the finish line. Like, okay, let's create a name like Mafuya. Like, don't be frightened. So by hearing the name Mafuya, you're curious. So who is this girl? Is she bold? Is she courageous?
Yeah.
And you see, so now that's okay. If you can have a kind of female version of courage, then let me create another male version of courage just to create a balanced story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know that people always like, okay, maybe he writes for
Something.
for
Something
female,
else. Yes.
It does it right for that kind of a thing. So I worked on that. So characterization was a bit difficult. I worked on it. Building the plot and setting was a bit difficult. Obviously, good writing is difficult, so it was difficult, but I was able to find my way around. I had to rewrite and write. Some things I've finished writing, I have to go back and delete and start all over again. There's some of the scenes in the story because I didn't want to create a scary story.
Yeah.
I like to write stories that children can just enjoy, even if it's 10 years from now. Just go and pick it and read it. So any element that I saw that will create fear because I don't like it. So I try to remove all that from fiction. Like don't scare anybody. Then
Yes,
there's the
because I
part
was
where
going
we
to
have to talk
ask you
about
what you took out. What are the things the parts that you took out? We have that.
I,
There's that part in question. What are the parts you took
yes,
out?
I took that out. I think the only case where someone died was when Bewa died. I don't really like things like death and all that. So we have to handle it carefully. There are parts should I create a way forward? Should she survive? But that character Bewa was not needed. So I had to let it go. So there was a part that Oriade was actually supposed to die. So we had to bring him back so that Oriade did a couple of things, almost everything. Good enough. So we had to correct so many things. So that's it.
What about gathering data, the facts for? Because I imagine that you went to go and read about the whole Ataoja history and all of that.
Yes.
How did you get your data?
Okay. Like the normal way it works, primary and secondary source. So I went online, I got information, I read journals, and because my dad is the one that is from Oshogbo, so I could ask him some questions, then I could travel home, I had to travel home, then ask some questions, even though most of these things would not reflect in the story because it's for children. So you don't
Yes.
have to be too serious about it. So I had to ask questions about the families, the stories, how it works, the palace, the dressing, what these things mean. Because when I saw royal stool, I was just like, is there a stool in the
Very.
palace? Like, so they're like, okay, so it was more like there was in those days the king sits on his stool. There was no chair. There was no chair.
Yeah.
So there was no throne. Kind of a thing. So the king just lives in a large compound and he sits on his stool. So
Wow.
that stool is what they call the royal stool. So all those things, I was able to get enough data. Then I find a way to just kind of make it more appealing for children to read. So when they read the story, then they might be curious about the actual history.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
And
maybe they'll
want
be
to
able to pick a
find
thing or
out.
two from.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially people that are from Yoruba land or from this side, you'll be curious about it. So if they call the king Awujale of Ijebu land, they call one Alaafin of Oyo, those kind of things. So you'll be curious about, so why do they call them these
This
titles?
page. Yes.
Yeah, so you won't just assume and say, okay, hey, it's just Alaafin. It's just Alaafin. So you'll be curious. So that's the idea.
Okay. Um, what about finding? Because I noticed you published this one yourself. You published this book yourself. Mafoya
Yes.
was another publisher. So why? What was it like? Why did you decide to do
Oh
your
well,
publishing?
11th House published this book,
Yeah.
and it's not like fine, I'm the one leading the whole team, but I'm not the one that has the final say.
Yeah.
So I felt the whole team felt because 11th House is mainly a self-publishing company. So at times we spot talent. We're like, okay, I think I like this guy's talent. Can
Yeah.
we invest in the person? We look at that. Then aside publishing, we do literary services like
Okay.
ghostwriting, editing, and stuff like that, screenplay writing and all that. So it's a whole team
Okay.
of a number of people. So they felt and said, okay, Ayo, let's take this project on
Okay.
and let's run with it. So it's not like maybe fine, I'm the one leading the whole team, obviously, but I don't have the whole say.
Yeah.
Now, I think the difference, basically, I'm glad I signed a deal with Wida Books 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's really helped my career as a writer. It's really, really helped my career as a writer.
Yeah.
So, but coming to this one does not mean that because I'm a stakeholder means that we'll now just play with it.
Yeah.
No, So we'll work on it just the same way. We're working on this one just the same way they worked
Yeah.
Mafuya. And Mafuya was tedious, like it was a tedious job. So we're trying to do the same with this. And for a writer, every time you get back to your writing desk, it is new. So people might feel and say, okay, he's an award-winning writer. He has been writing for so long, so amount of time, and assume that it means that it is easy. No, you are
Wow.
back to the same drawing board. You are doing the same thing all over again. You are even doubting yourself, like, can I really do this? Is this good
Wow.
enough? People
Wow.
like Mafuya. People like Mafuya. So
They
how
like
do I
this.
tell them, okay, how am I sure that they're gonna like this one? And I think you're writing children fiction, and the rule to children fiction is called page turner. You must be able to create a page turner. Every page matters. Every chapter counts. It's not like a novel whereby you read the whole thing and you come to the last page and like, okay, this is what it's all about. But it's children fiction, children and other patients. So
Yes.
to create a page turner is not really easy. So that's it.
Okay. All right. I noticed that the central theme of the book is around bravery and courage. So, what
Yes.
ways do you think we can encourage children to pick up bravery, courage? I know books can help, just like your book, but are there any other ways
Yeah.
we can encourage children to be brave, to stand up for themselves?
Okay. Well, since this book is applicable to children between 7 and 11,
Hmm.
so I want to stay within that ambit because I want them to be like Malala Yousafzai and stand in front of bullets because you want to go to school. I won't say that. I will never advocate or encourage any child to do that.
Yeah.
No, no, don't do that. So I think at that age of that 7 to 11, they should allow their voice to be heard. If there's something you want to say, it is
Speak
something
up.
you feel, it is something you saw. Like, look at these cases where children are being raped by people that are within their family, outside their family, and some of them get raped and they are not even talking. They just keep quiet until when the mother observes or when the father observes. In that kind of a thing, we
Yeah.
need them to be bold enough, to
Yeah.
be strong enough
Yeah.
to open their mouth and speak up. That is the
I
kind of
agree.
bravery I want from them at that age. Like, okay, just speak up. Don't be afraid. If your teacher scolds you and say, I'll beat you, don't tell your mommy,
Don't tell
tell
your
your mommy when you get home. Whatever you see, whatever you know, whatever you observe, whatever you read, open your mouth and talk about it. Just be bold. Speak your truth. Allow your voice to be heard. We should not allow our kids to become timid. Like
yeah.
you see, like in my own generation when we were young, some kids were just so beaten up. Any small thing, they get walloped. They get walloped. And before by the time the child grows up, they become dull.
Yeah.
They become timid naturally. They just can't face life. Just because they've been walloped to stupor at an early age. So
Very
we
true.
want better kids now, and we believe that the kids of nowadays can do better. Let them speak up. Don't protest. Don't be like Malala. Just let your voice be heard. Just let your voice. Don't be like Oriade. Don't look for a flying horse. Don't do that. Don't look for magic mushroom. Don't think you can shape shift into something. You got all the magic in your voice. So let your voice be heard. That's all.
Okay, very good, very good, very good one. Okay, I'm aware that you published your first book when you were very young, and it's always
Yeah.
encouraging when children hear from people who are writers, because the way they see people who are experienced writers, they just think you have it all figured out. And we're currently running a writing masterclass, and there's a girl in the class who keeps on asking what happens when you have writer's block. She's every guest
Hmm.
part. I don't know if she asked you that question because you were one of the
She did.
facilitators.
She
She
did.
she has asked two other people who have come after that. So it's always
Oh my
helpful when we
goodness.
ask all experienced writers, what is it that you what can you what do you think sets you up to be so successful very early on, so that they can start to imitate all of this.
Okay. I think when I started early, I had friends. So we were writing together, we were reading together. We were like a group of four. So we were reading and writing together, and we read each other's work. In this aspect of writer's block, for me, I remember like when I was going to get published, my publisher signed me. When he signed me, I was 17 when I was signed. So after he signed me, that was when I started writing.
Oh, you were not
Everything I
writing
wrote
before
before
you were
was
signed.
I was writing, but everything I wrote then was not applicable to what he wanted to publish at the time.
Wow. Okay.
So it was just like, okay, I was writing, kids, you might write a short story, you might write this, and just felt, okay, you have the talent, now I want you to write me a whole book
Mm,
on this kind of genre, which was children fiction.
yeah.
And I was telling myself that by 18, I want to have my first novel. And I was like, okay, calm down, Prodigy. Let's start with children fiction. So I had to write like about 8 or 9 children's books that time, and I was young. So I wrote. Now the idea is, in order to conquer that writer's block, if I'm writing a story, and I see that I'm not getting a headway, I'll leave it. I'll go and write another one.
Mm-hmm.
If I've experienced another block on another, I go to the third one. The
Mm-hmm.
idea was just to make sure that your fingers, the ideas are running out of your fingers. The moment you get your fingers off your keypad, believe you me, everything will just vanish.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
great.
was one thing. If you're writing something and whatever it is that you're writing is not working, try another one. Then number two is you have to be reading. Sometimes when you're writing something and you're not just seeing it. For me as a writer, I have to see it before I can write it. I always see it. Like, okay, I can see this thing. Is it plausible? It's plausible, then I can create it. Some just type. So if I don't see it anymore, then I'll go and read other people's books. I'll just be reading. So while I'm reading, I'm also thinking about my work and the
Mm,
idea will come back. Then you don't have to allow that fear. Like there's just believe that there's nothing called writer's block. Writer's right. That's all. A writer writes. It is when it is out there that people say, okay, this is fantastic, this is not fantastic. Don't worry about that. Just do your work and let people decide later. So I think that works. I think that has worked for me and it has always worked for me
and you
from then till
mentioned
now.
that you for I got from something you said while we were chatting now. You mentioned doubting yourself, and in my mind I was like, oh, even experienced writers doubt themselves. That's amazing.
Yes. 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 Like, okay, maybe for me, I won't shy away from that.
Yeah.
I write for children, so I try to live in that children's world. I like it, it's convenient for me.
Hmm.
Uh, there's no way you won't doubt yourself because you're trying to do something new. The
Yeah.
fact that, okay, let's say you're able to run 100 meters does not mean that you can also run 200 meters
Yes.
and excel.
True.
If you scale 200 meters, doesn't mean that you can do the same for 300 meters. Then the realities of life are changing. Like, okay, like now I'm much more busy than I was 10 years ago, than I was 15 years ago. So let's say right now I'm working on another project entirely, and then I have to leave that one and write a story. I'm thinking. Then don't forget, I'm also reading other writers' works. I'm seeing, okay, how far have we come? Oh, so Jude has written this. He has talked about this topic, and maybe I've been writing on that one already. So you have to cancel it. For
Wow.
me, I'll just cancel like, okay, this
Are
topic
you
has been
serious?
treated. Why do you have to go there again? Leave it. Go and do another one. So, and you can't be tired of writing. So, I do that myself sometimes. I won't lie. I still do.
Okay, so
I still
it's
do.
good that you're this
So
transparent
that's me.
because we have children who ask, they always feel like they're not good enough. You get, and so
Okay.
hearing that you will have to deal with that doubt even as you keep writing is good for
You
them to
just have
hear
to
that.
keep writing.
Yeah.
It's good. There'll be moments like that, but they shouldn't worry. Like even when a book is out, like people ask me and say, "Ah, Mafoya on the finish line. How many copies have you sold?" Those things are not the kind of things I want to hear. But somehow
Get
people
you.
say it. And I'll be like, okay, I think the book is being read by some people. It's not like it's being read by the whole of the country,
Yeah.
obviously. So don't ask me that question. You can only ask me like, okay, Aya, what are you working on now?
Yeah.
Okay, I think you did something nice. Okay, so there's a way you just have to just brush up the doubt because things will happen that will create the doubt. But just trust it. Like if you can do the previous one, you can do the next one too. And if the reception for the last one was okay, then the reception for the next one will be better. You just have to just trust yourself. So that's it.
Okay, great. So what authors inspire you?
Well. I read foreign authors, I read local authors. I think the first person that really, really inspired me is J.R.R. Tolkien.
Okay.
Um, I like the idea of when he was trying to work on the Hobbit. This part where you have to build a whole character. You're building a character, you're building an Hobbit, you call them, you give them a name and build a character. Like, okay, that was cool. That's really cool. So then the story now evolved from just being a Hobbit story to become a whole epic story, Lord of the Rings. Oh my goodness. You know, that got to me. He had to create his own language in the book. He had to create places, scenes, settings, everything. And ever since then, Mafoya was a good word. Thank you. So ever since then, I wanted to do more than he did. And it's good to know that George R. R. Martin too was influenced by him. So someone like me was influenced by him. I read many authors. So if it's about the local Nigerian authors, Shinka is always my model, but he doesn't write for children. So I love Shinka. But I think Chino Achebe did it for me. Cyprian Kwesi did it for me. Kola Dikpe did it for me. Nancy Drew. That's Caroline King. What's her name? I think Caroline King. Who else again? So many of them, they did the magic. But there's this writer that people don't really talk about. His name is Philip Bego.
Oh,
Philip
really?
Bego is,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, Philip Bego is awesome. He's awesome. He was somebody that I, as a Nigerian writer of children fiction, was looking up to way back then. It was even because of him that I paid attention to Golden Baba Prize. It was because of him. I didn't know anything about it. Someone is okay, Philip Bego did this, okay, okay, I'm interested. Oh, he has won a any prize. Oh, I'm interested. He has like I think about 15 or 16 children's books in total. So it might not be the hero that we praise today, but it's
Yeah.
somebody that is forever etched in my mind. I love the man. I love him. Yes.
Okay, so you've mentioned that for writing you need to be a reader. So how would you advise, because getting children to read these days is quite tricky because we have media and all of these distractions. So how would you advise parents, just some quick advice you can give parents of what you think, even as a writer, that you think will compel children to read?
I think number one, you have to build a reading environment in your house. I grew up in a house where there are books. That's one. So the books were there. So you will read. That is
Books have
one.
to be there.
Then
Yes.
the books have to be at home. So it's not like why would there has to be books? That's one. I think so. The home environment has to be doing that justice. Number two, the parents have to be reading themselves so that the children can watch and imitate.
Very true.
So when you say daddy is reading newspaper, I used to pick something and read. I watch my daddy read newspapers and I had to pick a book and read. And the truth is, when you're done reading, we just discuss, we interact on what I've read, and gradually it grows. Then, like now that it's better now, I think the best I got then was there was the school library and there was the state library. There
Yes.
was a school book club, everything just within school, and it was kind of too official. Now there are book clubs like the one you run. There are book clubs that they can join, and these are things that they can do both online and offline. So
Offline.
it makes it easier for them to read. Then if you see a child that is struggling with reading, don't say because a child is, let's say, 15, then you should make that child read a middle grade book. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Let that child start with what they love reading. If
Yeah.
that child likes picture books, don't worry. Give them the picture books. Let them start from there. If you like chapter books, just pick it up and go. Like as I am now, as old as I am, I see people that who prefer my children's books. Adults, they
Yeah.
prefer it to my novel.
I
They're like,
read
okay, that your
children's
novel.
books.
You're telling me the novel, you speak too much English, you are too serious. You want that children's book. Keep the story simple, and so gradually that works. That has worked for me, and I think it would work for children's too. So then parents should just make it their effort. It might be inconvenient, but let them join book clubs, both in school, then outside school is better. Because when they are still within a learning environment, it looks like work.
Yeah, it looks like
Believe me,
sport. Yeah.
it looks like schoolwork. So let them leave that environment. Let's just like say they're going out to the club, they want to go and catch fun, they want to open their mind, they want to make new friends. So that will work a lot, like a lot. But as a parent too, be reading because the kids are looking at you.
So parents
Believe you me,
parents need to
my,
be readers. Very
my dad,
important.
my dad is in his 60s, and he still teaches me new vocabularies.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Like if I hardly see him. So when I say you just speak one word, just speak one English. I just be pressing my phone, I'll be checking like, okay, what was that? So that will encourage one as a person. So parents should do their part, then help the child, then do your part, and I think it gets better. And reading is important. We
Reading
can't
is
go forward without reading. You just have to read. I
very
understand in
true.
today's world, like the internet age, Twitter, somebody will read a single sentence, and misunderstand it, and you'll be wondering like, okay, that was easy to understand. What's the
Yeah,
problem?
also so
You
difficult.
know,
Yes.
they might just like, what's that about? You know. So I said that it's that lack of reading. Some will see just 300 words online or 500 words online, be like, that was too much. I'm like, really? That's too much? No, that can't be. And they say, okay, maybe you read because you're a writer. No, I didn't plan to be a writer from the onset. It just happened. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so what are you currently reading?
Okay, to be sincere, I'm reading many things. I'm reading Elona Bila's Travelers. I'm reading this history of Africa, UNESCO's there's this UNESCO's volume. Like I'm on volume 4, History of Africa. It's on their website. Just look
Are
for
you
it. It's
planning
one
to
very
write
big.
another a historical fiction book? Because I'm wondering why history of Africa?
No, no, no. I'm not planning to, at least for now.
For now, okay.
I'm not planning to. I'm not planning to. I don't even intend, but I just like, okay, read history. I know that even when I read everything, the truth is that's not the absolute truth. Some things are already lost.
Yeah.
Some informations are lost. But at least just get a grasp of what was. And from there you can build what
Can
is,
build
you
on
know.
it.
And like you are asking, like, am I trying to do something new? No. Like look at Nature Okorafor. So some of the elements of our writing in Binti, Black Panther, Shuri, they are picked from histories of Africa.
Yeah.
The dressing, the costume, the language, the symbols. So those things are actually very useful. So when I'm reading this, I could pick a thing and okay, okay, they did this, okay, I can use this. They did that, okay, I can use that. So that's just the essence of reading that. But currently I'm reading okay, I think I have the book here. The Amazings. Okay, The Amazings by Lorian Preston.
Okay, I don't
The
know this.
Amazing. This this book won the Golden Baba Prize in 2016.
Are you
So I lost to
serious?
this writer. Yes,
I need to go and
but she's
update
my
my
friend.
knowledge
She's
of,
my friend.
yeah. I have a
You know
couple
writers,
of
huh?
books. I have a couple of the books from that won the prize in, I think, the year you
Okay.
won. Yeah. Grandma's List was
Okay.
2016. What was the same year as you?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Grammar's list.
Okay.
I think that one was published by was it Kuramo? I can't remember.
No, no, it's not Kuramo.
Yeah, I can't. It's not Kuramo.
It's not Kuramo. It's, I think it's a Ghanaian
Okay.
post also.
The Ghana publishing house. Okay, okay. Because I know that Deborah, the convener of that
Yeah.
program, she also has a publishing house. So maybe they
Yes, I know.
did.
Yeah.
I think they did.
Yes, it's her
So
publishing house that did that. Yeah.
yes. So this is what I'm reading. It's very interesting. The amazing 5 kids. They got lost in a cave, so they had to find their way out. Something cool like that. So
I will
they
look
give
for
them
it.
maybe.
I've enjoyed every
Uh,
single Golden Baba book I've read. Every single one. I've enjoyed every single one.
the bad thing is our books are not in Nigeria. You know that's the problem
That's,
we have
I
in
know.
African
I
films.
know.
Yes,
Yes.
and it's not. I don't think it's on Amazon yet.
Amazon. I have my ways. Don't worry.
Okay, now no wahala. So yeah, that's what I'm reading for children fiction. I think I can recommend it to children. Like,
Yeah.
okay, don't just read Nigerian author, read the South African authors, see
Across
from their
Africa.
perspective
Very
too, you
important.
know.
Yes.
Read the
Very,
ones from Zimbabwe, see from their perspective, It's
yeah.
really, really cool. Yes.
I've read really good picture books across Africa. Like, you will be amazed
You'll
at
be
what.
amazed.
Yes.
Anytime I read their works and somebody tells me like, Ayo, you're doing very well, I'll be like, it's like you've not really read other authors. Like you need to read works. I'm like, wow, see talent, see the energy, look at the production quality, look at the illustrators. You just be
Exactly.
wow, like okay, Africa is
Exactly.
really doing something, and
Exactly.
maybe someday soon our time will come. Maybe someday
I
soon our
believe
time will
so.
come and the
Yeah.
world will see.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the way the ecosystem is now is not the same way it was in. I started Bookham Cafe in 2016. It's a total different scale today as it was in 2016.
Exactly, exactly. More book clubs are springing up. There's more awareness. Remember when Lola Shine started Ake Festival? It looked like
Yeah.
a joke. Like, can she
Mhm.
sustain this thing? And look at it today. It's the biggest festival.
And it's in
It is the biggest
Lagos.
event in Africa, and it's in Lagos. It's in
Yeah.
Lagos now. So and all that. So I think sometime in 2012 or 2013, I stopped writing
Wow.
because of work, and I just like, okay, this thing is not paying off. Let me just leave it. And I had a friend that told me then and said, it's going to get better.
You
It's
get
not
back.
always about what you're seeing now. So just contribute, and if it favors, I hope it favors you too. So and I went back into it and see today. So I was like, okay, so there are more writers that are doing
Yes.
very well, and I'm glad that I'm still writing because if you should leave writing for just 1 year, you feel it in your bones. It will just kind of fade away. Just kind of fade away. So that's it.
Okay, so how has quarantine and all of this pandemic, how has it affected your writing? Are you writing more? Is you would you are you grateful for it, or are you not? Because I know authors who say they haven't really written anything since the pandemic. They're just feeling lethargic.
Really?
Yes, I've
No.
heard from a couple of writers like that.
I think I think at the early part of the whole pandemic thing, it got to me. It's a mental thing, you know. You have to reorganize your life. You have to reorganize your environment. You have to reorganize your movement. You know, funny enough, I had a festival that I was supposed to attend sometime in April. I had another one that had like March ending, so everything had to be cancelled. So I was like, okay, something's wrong somewhere. You
Yeah.
know, I was indoors for like the normal 2 weeks isolation. I did 1 month actually. I was just indoors. I didn't go anywhere. So then I started picking up reading again. There was this book you sent to me. There was a book you sent. You don't send the book to me. One book
Me?
that was written about children safety something. A COVID is a book on COVID.
Oh
A
yeah, yeah,
children's
yeah.
picture book.
Yes.
Yes. So I read it. So when I read it, I just like, oh, this is cool. Okay, I'll go back and start writing now. You know, I now saw that it's that moment was a time I had more time to myself actually. Now people won't just come and meet me again like the normal day, and people will not request to see me like before. Now they know that okay, there's COVID, so okay, I won't really come out, and you won't really come to my place. You
Yeah.
know, so I had more time to myself. I started having more time to myself, so I could read more and I could now write more. So for me, it's actually turned out very cool. Initially, I didn't even want to do Instagram live readings. So one of my friends, Mrs. Toyosi, so she was on my neck. She was just like, "Ayo, let's do an Instagram live together." I'm like, I'm shy. I don't want to do this stuff, you know. So she dragged me out, and from that moment, people are reaching out to me. Ayo, let's do live. Ayo, this, Ayo, that. Like, okay. So at the end of the day, I was able to kind of swing it in my favor. So I'll say it's been good, although I don't want it to continue like
To
this.
continue, yes,
But
please.
no. But it's been good. It's been helpful actually. I read more, I've read more, and I've written more actually. Yes.
Okay, so are you allowed to share what you're working on next?
Hey. Hmm.
Just a little bit.
um. How should I put it? Like I said, I don't work on one thing.
One
Like
thing,
I work on
yes.
many things.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's another book that I was thinking would come out this year, but somehow it didn't happen. So
The
the
year
book
hasn't
is
ended.
going to come. What?
The year hasn't ended.
The year hasn't ended, but I know like the publisher have been talking and it doesn't look like, but I don't know. You know, so there's a book like the book is centered around our Marjorie children.
Oh,
So I know
wow.
that people have worked on this topic, and I just felt like, okay, let's create something fantastic around them. So in that story, like two Amajiri boys, they found something, and that thing turned their life around, and that thing took them to places. Believe
Wow.
you me, I love this story. The bad part is I have the book cover on my phone. Everything has been designed and sent to me. Then I think COVID happened, and everything just went to a stop, like mute. Bam.
Wow.
So that one is there, and so I'm hoping maybe to come out next year. So I hoping that one will come out next year, hopefully. And if it doesn't, there's another one that's supposed to come out. It's a story about a girl that was transported 50 years into the future to meet a humanoid robot.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ayo,
and she's
wow.
going to. So the girl is going to bring the robots from the future into the present. So that's the story.
Oh
So
my
that will be next year.
goodness. Okay. Okay. So if you didn't write, what would you be doing?
Okay, let me put it this way. I studied physics electronics.
Are you kidding?
Yes, I studied
Wow.
physics, and my parents wanted me to study art actually. They are like, okay, we know you're a writer. We know you're going to write. So how is it gonna be? And I'm like, okay, no, I'm not gonna study arts. I can always read up. I just wanted to study something that I feel would fetch me a good job in future. So I took that course, and before I even finished, I took some professional certification in IT.
Ah,
So I'm a system engineer too. I'm a
I,
system engineer.
I'm
So
listening.
so so even while I was writing, so by the time I was back from my NYC camp, so I started working. I started working. So I've worked with IT companies, I work with HR companies, I've worked with entertainment companies. So I worked here and there until 2016. I told myself like I was not going to do all this kind of job again. I was only going to write. And if I ever get another job, it has to do with writing. If it's not writing, I'm not taking it. So imagine leaving all that. It was a huge risk.
Yeah.
So I lost a year of not working, a whole year. Then 2017 came, like late 2017. Someone just called me and said, "Okay, Ayo, I'm starting the publishing outfit. Can you help me with it?" So that's how I got a job back.
Yeah.
So it was because I had time. That's how I was able to work on Mafia and the Finish like over and over because you have to rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the question. I've worked in other terrain, and I'll say that writing does it for me. I've tried those ones. It's been cool, but I saw that I wasn't contributing enough. And like time is always ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice has to be heard. And if you think that somebody is not writing a good story, like Achebe will say, go and write your own. So I
Exactly.
felt okay, I could write mine. So let me write mine. And will it turn out great? I don't know. Will I make billions of it? I don't know. But I can contribute. And I think I'll be fine. So, and I'm fine. So that's it.
Okay. Then, do you read? How do you handle book reviews? Because there will be the good ones. Even though you know your work very well, there will be people who will trash your work, and there will be people who will praise you. How do you handle the people reviews that are bad?
Well, I think one of the things that my publisher taught me, that's Lola Shunei. She said, there's nothing like a bad review. There's nothing like that. So when somebody has something to say about your work, personally, I always try to find them and say thank you.
Are
That
you
is, you considered
serious?
my work. Yes, you considered my work, and you read it, and you had something to say. You have
Say
taken a lot of effort because I'm a writer too, so I know what it takes. Like you are sitting down, you are devoting time to something, so
form
it's
an
good.
opinion at the end of the day.
Now, exactly. Now, this opinion that we're talking about is based on POV, point of view.
Mm-hmm.
These are other elements in writing on its own. Like, there's always a point of view when you're writing.
Yeah.
So, I'm writing something, and I think this is a good conclusion, or let's use the word resolution. And somebody else feels it's not so. Like, I think when Kemi Falodun reviewed Mafoya and the Finish Line, Wawa Books review. So
I
when she
read.
reviewed it,
I read it.
yeah, she didn't, she didn't like the resolution, kind of.
Yeah, I read
I was
it.
just laughing. Like thank God she's not here, but I'll say it. Like I was just laughing. I was like, "Oh, Kemi, you're taking me too serious. Oh. You shouldn't have taken me. You're taking me too serious. Like I'm just flowing with the characters. I was looking at the characters and what they stood for. So I looked at Amino as a rigid, pompous, egoistic, successful athlete,
Mm-hmm.
while Mafoya was the
Yeah.
struggling cheat. So you don't just wake up one day and just say, Amino suddenly fell in love with Mafoya because Mafoya apologized. That's not going to happen. You'll be
Yeah.
like, of course, you cheated. So I had to go with that. But I needed a good resolution. Like, okay, how do we go from there? So that was the best I could do at that time. I guess maybe now I can do better. Yes, like the older, the better you become.
Yeah.
So, so for her, she made that point. It's useful. So back to the question, which is, so when people review works, I'm thankful that they actually did, and there's nothing like a bad review. There is nothing like a bad review. So you would learn a thing or two. And being that I like being child at heart, I'm like a child too. So you can correct me. You can tell me that, okay, Ayo, I think this is not fine. I think you can do better. And I'll say, okay. But I know I'm still going to make another mistake. I'm sure that by the time Ataoja is out, somebody will have something to say and be like,
Yeah.
okay, no, you're not supposed to do that. For example, let me give you a joker. So there's a flying horse in the book, and somebody can come up and tell me, like, historically, there's no flying horse. in Yoruba Kingdom.
Yeah.
So how did it happen? And I'll be like, that was fiction. Don't
Yeah.
take it too seriously. And maybe somebody's going to write a whole work of journal on how Ayo Oyeku has
Yeah.
distorted
How
African
there's no
literature and
blindness.
history. And he said there's a flying nurse and there's no Pegasus and all that. I think it's still good for literature. All I
Yeah.
know is I'm not hurting anyone and it's just fiction. Let's just
Yeah.
enjoy it. And I'll not write a bad story. I think that's important. So I think
Awesome.
that's it.
Your answers are on
Mhm.
point. Okay, so finally, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be? Because I'm sure you've made mistakes. I'm sure you've learned from them. What would you tell your younger self?
The funny part is, have I made mistakes? I think I started pretty early. I
Mm-hmm.
had a very good home. I have a brother, so we're just two. Home was balanced. Dad is on point. Mom is awesome. So I had space to myself to write. I moved to secondary school. I had friends that were reading and writing. Sure, you can't went to the same secondary school I went to. So that was just like everything for me. So I was like in the right system. Then I'm in Ibadan, which is more like the cradle of literature in Africa.
Yeah, yeah,
So you want to talk about literature, you want to talk about the writers, you want to talk about the publishing, and everything is here. So I'm living in that system.
yeah.
So it made it easy for me. And my parents really, really supported me. And from then till now, I think I've learned something called endurance because beyond talent, there's endurance. But there's this thing that I wish I could go back and correct, which is relationship. I've learned it now that you have to take relationship with people seriously. Don't take it for granted. This is what happened. After my first two books were out, I had a fallout with the publisher. There were arguments about royalties, and he was offended, obviously. But being an elderly person, he didn't tell me. So I kept writing for him. So all he did was to carry my manuscript and throw it under his bed. Believe
Wow.
me. So I was writing, a year passed, 2 years passed, 3 years passed. Where are my works? He was giving excuses. Then later I realized that it was because I was asking for too much. And he decided not to publish my work. And I lost 7 years. I lost
Wow.
7 good years. So I lost 7 good years of not getting published.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to now start all over again, look for new publishers. You take your work to a publishing house and they just flunked my manuscript. I just
Mm-hmm.
scattered across. I dived after my and I packed my thing and I left. Like, thank you. No wahala. So and those 7 years I can't regain them. And it's not like bad blood. The publisher actually later apologized to me. That was like maybe after like 10 years or 15 years or something. Like he's sorry and all that. I'm like, we're good. But I learned that thing like relationships are very, very important. So now that I know that better, so all the publishers I've worked with, believe you me, I'm telling you this, there are always issues with royalties. There are always issues with royalties. There are always issues with promotion. You feel like they are not promoting your work enough.
Work, yeah.
You believe they are not doing enough. So sometimes you feel very uncomfortable. There are some requests you will make and you feel like, okay, they'll act on it and they won't. The worst part is like they just go mute on you. They're not saying anything. So I think from the previous experience I had with losing 7 years, so I just try to handle everybody carefully like an egg. So same thing for people that are reviewing your book. Same thing with you. You're bringing me on live. It's something. It always counts for something. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that when I'm done with the live, then you now destroy the relationship and all
Yeah.
that. So just try and mind it. There are times there will be clashes. Believe me.
Yeah.
Like the way I'm talking to you now, I'm seeing that some people have been messaging me on something,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody might get offended and say, "Okay, you just snubbed me."
Yeah.
So I'll read the long chat of snub, like you feel too much of yourself, and I apologize. I just apologize, and I'll just keep quiet because I just feel like okay, the way forward is just peace. Let's just take it carefully. So eventually it will be fine. Somebody can look down on me and say, okay, what are you doing? What about you? It's okay by me, but then don't let's destroy the relationship. You
Yeah.
know. So that is, I think, one thing I would tell my younger self to always build a good relationship with people,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm doing now.
Okay, so one last thing. I know Legend of Ataoja comes out in October. Is that still correct?
Yes, it is.
Where will we be able to get copies apart from Book Home Cafe? And then your other books, where can we get copies of them?
Oh God. Okay. The idea is that we were supposed to release the digital edition first,
Mm-hmm.
maybe September or maybe it's October. I don't know. So it will be out on Amazon, paperback, Kindle. Then I have a contract with TCLI Library. That's Tomi Coca Literary
So,
Initiative. They have a
yeah,
library.
yeah, I know.
So I have a contract there. So they are the ones that will release the digital edition. So
Okay.
and the cute part is you get to read it for free. It's a digital library.
Yes, I know.
So all you have
Yes.
to do is just go there and read the book
Oh,
because we just
that's
want to
awesome.
just remove every gap. So it's not like okay, there's a book out, then people can't read it. Let them read. So it will be out there so they can access it. Those that want the digital edition will come out there. Then the paperback when it comes out, aside from Bookworm, Roving Heights.
Okay.
Roving Heights will release it. Then there's this big distribution company. We are still in the talks. They are trying to see how they can push it to
Okay.
Abuja, Accra, and which other place? Some places in West Africa.
Africa.
So
Yeah.
it's still in the talks. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be. So I don't want to mention their name. So, but
Okay.
I'm sure that Roving Knights will have it,
Okay.
and maybe Book Peddlers will have it. You will have it. Then in Ibadan, yeah, you'll get it from Bookseller.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's great. And same goes for Mafuya and your other books.
Yes, yes, yes. Mafoya is in all these places I mentioned. You can get it there.
Okay.
But I don't know when we'll release the digital edition of Mafuya. I don't know. I don't know when the audiobook is supposed to come out too
Oh wow.
of
Who
Mafuya.
recorded?
Yeah,
Who did?
yeah, it's
Who
supposed to come
recorded?
out. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So but I'm hoping maybe that one too will come out.
Okay.
Maybe this year, maybe next year. But I know that one too is in the works. So it all depends on the publisher.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Ayo, it's been nice having you. Always good to spend time with you. Thank
I'm
you
so
for your
sorry I
work.
went offline.
No
I'm
problem.
so sorry.
Like I said, I
10 minutes.
always save. We'll save it on IG Live, but also on YouTube, so that anybody who
Okay.
wants to can watch it after now, and I can always refer
Okay.
people
Okay.
who want
That's
to know
good.
more about you there as well. So
Thank you
thank
so,
you for
so
your
much. Thank you
time.
so,
Thank
so
you
much.
for coming back despite the challenges, and you still came back to join the live, and for a fantastic time.
Thank,
Thank you very much. Hope to
thank
chat
you so,
another
so much.
time. And
All right. Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to having the book at the Book Home Cafe and so
Thank
much more. And the other stories, the other ones you have given me a sneak peek into.
you. Sure. No problem. No problem. Thank you so,
Thank
so
you
much.
so
And I'm
much.
glad to be here.
All
And
right.
well done with everything you're doing with Bookcom.
Thank
So,
you.
bye
Thank you.
bye.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for
Okay.
joining. Thank you.